Good morning. All right, so today I'm going to have a block handy just because we will do balancing half moon at one point. So if you like to have something on the floor to reach for, we will do that. And I'm actually going to pull out a blanket because we'll start seated today. And we'll wait another minute or so before we start all the way. So if you are already here, you can go ahead and find a seat and just close your eyes and start to bring your awareness to your breath. Excuse me. Today, as I was planning our class, really working with shoulder strength and heart opening and like a theme from Brene Brown's book, Braving the Wilderness, kept coming to mind. It's that we need to have a strong back, a soft front, and a wild heart. And so even as you sit here, just preparing for your practice, getting into your body, what would that feel like in your body to have a strong back, a soft front, and a wild heart? This sense of courage and commitment to what is right, an open receptivity and vulnerability and softness and kindness. And also a confidence that life is joyful. And just start to turn on your Ujjayi breath. That's a slight constriction in the back of your throat. So you hear an ocean-like sound as you just breathe in through your nose. And hear that ocean-like sound as you breathe out of your nose. And think of your inhale coming in for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, and then pause. And then exhale, 2, 3, 4, and then pause. We'll take 3 or 4 rounds of breath like that here. You can keep your eyes closed or just gently open them and bring your hands to your heart, and we'll add some movement to our breath. So take your breath in with your hands at your heart. And as you exhale, really dive your arms forward, spread between your shoulder blades. You can round your back, even tuck your tailbone underneath you and tuck your chin. And then as you inhale, open your arms wide like bird wings. Exhale, hands back together, really round. And then you'll bring your hands back into your heart with your inhale. And we'll just move with that. Exhale and dive forward. Inhale, expand, open. Exhale, round forward again, and then inhale, hands to heart. And just move at your own pace here. You can think of that strong back, soft front, wild heart. And next time your hands come into your heart, just pause your movement and reach your arms straight forward, and then just turn your palms face down. We'll make a fist by bringing your thumbs into your palms and then curling all your fingers over that, and then pointing your knuckles toward the floor and really reach down. And then we'll uncurl our hands. Just start with your pointer fingers and just kind of flail open, and then push your fingers up toward the ceiling and really flex through your wrists, or extend, I guess I should say. And then thumbs in, curl your fingers around your thumbs, and then point your knuckles toward the floor. And then uncurl that, and you can kind of reach your thumbs forward and then spread them out. And we'll do that another time. Thumbs in, curl your fingers around, and then really flex through your wrist to point your knuckles at the floor. And then from here, just find some wrist circles. Try to keep your forearms completely still. Keep your hands fisted. And just circle your wrists one direction and then the other, and see if you can really push all the way to the pinky side, all the way up, all the way to the thumb side, down. And then shake that out for a second. And then push your hands forward. We'll do one more thing here. And just spread through your shoulder blades on your back, and then draw your shoulder blades together. So spread through your shoulder blades on your back, so really push forward, and then draw your shoulder blades together. Try to keep your rib cage out of it. And build some heat in your shoulders. And then we'll just rock forward onto our hands and knees. If you are sitting on something, you can push that out of the way. And to start, we'll just drop. So here we are on our table. I'm just going to drop my right hip to the floor. So now my right hand is on the floor. And I just want to shrug your shoulder up toward your ear, and then really let your rib cage kind of curve toward the floor, and then push away. So just kind of getting into your shoulder in a little bit different way. And you can play with the placement of your hand each time. But you can let your rib cage curve and find a little bit of a stretch there, and then push into that shoulder. And now think of externally rotating your upper arm. So with your hand on the floor, kind of tightening the jar lid, and just do one or two more shrugs. And then come onto your hands and knees. We're just going to switch sides. So bring your left hip down to the floor and let your shoulders shrug up towards your ear, and then really find some length through your left ribs and your left side body. And just shrug there. And you can adjust the placement of your hand if you need to. You don't have to every time. Just find a place that feels supportive. And move mindfully through the whole movement. So don't just like sink into it and then push away. See if you can go pretty slowly from the push down to the shrug up. And then we'll roll back onto our hands and knees and find that kind of movement of our shoulder blades with our hands connected with the floor. So shoulder blades together on your back and then push them apart. Keeping your spine and rib cage as still as you can and just moving through your shoulder blades. So retract them together, protract them apart. And then you can play with circles here. So retract them and then depress towards your hips, push the floor away, spread wide, and then lift up towards your ears. And then you can switch directions. And then come down onto your forearms. And we'll do that same thing. Just push or let your heart sink down and then push the floor away with your forearms. And this will kind of get it out of your pelvis even more. And do one more sink down and then push into the floor. Protract your shoulder blades. So shoulder blades are spreading apart. Your forearms are down on the floor. And just step one foot back and step the other and come into a forearm plank. Think about pointing your tailbone towards your heels and shortening the space between the top of your pelvis and your lowest ribs. So kind of engaging through your belly. And then bring your knees down, bring your thighs down, bring your pelvis down. Just let yourself be here in a Sphinx pose. And then you can tuck your chin and just let your upper back and the back of your neck really just stretch with gravity. Let your head hang heavy. And kind of keep pushing into the floor with your forearms so your neck is long. You're not sinking your ears up toward your shoulders up toward your ears. And then lift your chin. And then tuck your chin and round. And kind of go through some cat and cow. You can lift your ribs and your belly button. And then look forward. And do that a couple times. And then slide your right arm out to the right in a cactus shape. Tent your left fingers next to you. So your right elbow is the height of your shoulder. So it's like this. It's on the other side of me. Look to your left and then just roll a little bit to your right or maybe on all the way onto your right side and drop that right shoulder toward the floor. Stretch through the front of your right shoulder. And then we'll switch. Left arm into a cactus shape, so elbows the same height as your shoulder. You can look to your right, rock onto your left hip, maybe touch back with your right toes behind you. And drop that left shoulder into the floor. And breathe there. Come back onto your belly. And then lengthen your arms in front of you. Just lift your face up off the floor so your crown of your head just kind of in line with your spine. Lift your left leg and your right arm, and then lower, and lift your left arm and your right leg, and lower. Now, as you lift your leg, really think about using your glute to find that hip extension, not your lower back. And you don't have to lift your chest very high. Just go back and forth and think about that strong back. Strong back. Let's do left arm, right leg one more time. And then lift both legs, lift both arms, and just reach long. Lengthen your tailbone towards your heels. Lengthen out through the crown of your head. And then lower your arms, your legs, and then forehead to the floor. Using your glute strength, just reach your right leg up, bend your knee, and then reach your foot toward the ceiling more. Keep your pubic bone rooting down and heavy, and then lower down. And do that with your left leg. So use your glute strength. Try to get this out of your lower back. Bend your knee as you lift that leg up off the floor, any amount, and reach your foot toward the ceiling. And then release. We'll go back and forth a few times here. Bend your right knee. Lift your right thigh up off the floor, but keep your right hip point grounded down. Your right, and then your pubic bone grounded down. And just go back and forth here. And find length in your lower back. So you can even think about kind of shortening the space between your lowest ribs and the top of your pelvis. Do one more lift with that left leg. And then we'll add a little bit of a roll here. So bend into your right knee, lift your right thigh up off the floor, and then reach it over to your left until you roll over onto your back. And then we'll roll back. Just reach your arms overhead. You can bend into that right knee, reach your right knee over to the left until you roll back onto your belly. And we'll do that the other side. Start with your forehead down, your arms in front of you, and try to lead just with this strong left leg. Lift it up and then reach it over to your right, onto your back. Keep your arms overhead. Drop your front low ribs down. Bend into your left knee and then take that left leg over to your right and roll onto your belly. Let's just roll one more time to each side. So bend through your right leg, lift it up, reach it over to your left, and then come onto your back. Slide that knee in, reach it over, come onto your belly. And try to let the rest of your body just kind of reflexively fall, and most of the effort is in this leg that's moving. It's really good information for your brain, right? Like babies start moving with this rolling patterning. It's so good for your deep core muscles and your nervous system. All right, slide your hands under your shoulders. Come onto your hands and knees. And then plant your right hand down. We'll pivot on the right knee and step out into a side plank. Just reach your left arm up and then find some circles with that left shoulder. And go one direction a few times and then switch. Now bring your left hand to the floor, tuck your left toes, just float your right knee up off the floor and then kind of pivot your right foot over to the left. So we're in a little bit of a pigeon here. You can untuck those back toes. Now feel like you're squeezing your knees toward each other and just stretch through that right hip. Just be here for another breath or two. So you can come down onto forearms and fold over that right leg if you want. And then tuck your toes, just step back into a plank, and then bring your knees down. Pivot on your left knee, step your right foot out, and find that side plank again. Now find some stability in this left arm, so externally rotate your left upper arm. Reach your right arm up, and then find big circles with that arm, just kind of moving through the full range of motion of that shoulder. And switch directions if you haven't. And then plant your hand, tuck those right toes, float your left knee up off the floor into your chest, and then kind of pivot your left foot out to the right. Find your little pigeon for a breath or so. Maybe you fold a little bit. And then we'll make our way to downward facing dog. Lift your hips up and back and pedal out your feet. And just notice what's happening in your shoulders. See if you can find some stability there and play with that, shrugging your shoulders up towards your ears and then dropping them toward your hips. Pushing the floor away and then letting your heart sink down. And just see as you experiment here with your shoulder placement in your downward facing dog with this load on your shoulders. Find a place where you can get the most spaciousness in your spine and you feel stable and solid through your shoulder joints. And take one more round of breath here. Inhale onto your tippy toes, look forward. Bend your knees and then take a walk up to the top of your mat. Find your parallel feet there. Inhale, halfway lift, long spine. And exhale to fold. Let's do that 2 more times. Just kind of greet our hamstrings. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. One more. Inhale, halfway lift. Have your knees bent as much as you need to really let this be a stretch in the backs of your legs. And then we'll bend our knees and roll to standing. All the way to standing. Reach high. And exhale, hands to your heart. Just take a moment to stand. Feel your weight in your heels. Big toe ball mound, pinky toe ball mound. Lift up through the crown of your head. And what does it feel like when you're standing to have that strong back, soft front, wild heart? And take a breath in. Exhale, hands down by your sides. Inhale, reach high, look up. Exhale and fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale your left foot back to a lunge and then ground your left heel. Set yourself up for a warrior 2. So bend into that right knee, ground down into that right heel, and then come on up into your warrior 2. You can move through your hips a little bit. And then reach out with that right hand. You can put your palm face forward. And then we'll find a side angle pose here, but we're just going to hover. Feel strong through that right hip and draw that right glute kind of underneath you. And then ground down through your right big toe. And then reach through your left heel. And take one more breath there. And then we'll cartwheel our hands down. Come onto your left toes. And then step your right foot back into a plank, but maybe just let it hover. And then bring your foot down. Come into a table. We'll do some kind of plank work here. So feel that integration in your shoulders. Okay. Tuck your left toes. Lift your left knee up off the floor and bring your right knee into your chest. And then you'll let your left knee come to the floor as you reach your right leg back to float. So find that drawing your front low ribs in as you lift your left knee, right knee into your chest. Left knee down, right leg reaches back. We're just kind of pedaling here. Use your core to control you. Feel strong through your shoulders. Let's do one more time. Now your left knee's down. Step your right foot back. We're going to find this modified side plank. So left hand down, left knee. Reach your right arm out. Now ground through that right foot. Find some external rotation through this left arm. Push into your right foot. And then see if you can bring your left knee up off the floor and maybe elbow to knee. And then reach down. And try that 2 or 3 times. And then make your way to downward facing dog. Just bring those knees down. Bring your hand down and then lift your hips up and back. Collect your breath. And just find that place that feels stable for your shoulders. Find the connection of the pinky edge of your hand to the floor. And kind of squeeze your fingertips into the floor. And then play with lifting your toes and lifting your sitting bones. And then inhale onto your tippy toes, look forward. Exhale, soft knees, walk up. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Inhale, reach high, all the way to standing. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale and reach high. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, right foot back. And then ground your right heel, come up into your warrior 2 on this side. Move your left leg forward. Find some movement in your pelvis. Ground down through your feet. Feel your weight in your left heel. Open out through your arms. And take a breath in and then turn your left palm up. Reach your right arm alongside your ear. So push into that right heel. Engage through your left outer glute. Kind of wrap it underneath you as you open your heart. Like hold a beach ball or something between your hands. And just hold this hovering side angle pose. And find slow, steady breath. And take one more breath in. And then exhale, hands to the floor. We'll find that little pedaling plank. So bring your right knee down and just let your left leg float back. Tuck those right toes. And as your left knee comes into your chest, lift your right knee up off the floor. And then bring your right knee down and let your left leg float back. And just cycle through that. Just go at your own pace. Let's try that one more time. And then we'll move into our modified side plank. Bring that left foot down, pivot on that right knee, reach your left arm up. Find some external rotation in your right arm so you're solid in that shoulder. Ground down through your left foot. And then maybe hover your right knee up off the floor, maybe elbow to knee, and then back down. Elbow to knee, and back down. Elbow to knee, and back down. Elbow to knee, And then make your way to downward facing dog. Left hand down, then step back. And feel what it's like to have that strong back here in your downward facing dog. What would that feel like? Maybe lifting your sitting bones really strong from your hands up through your whole back body. And then soft front. Think of receiving your low ribs in. And then at the same time, find that energetic smile in your heart. Wild heart. Inhale onto your tippy toes, look forward. Bend your knees, make your way up to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Inhale all the way to standing reach high. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale and reach high. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, left foot back. Exhale your left knee down. Then we'll bend and straighten our right knee a few times. And play with how you use that right foot. Maybe really push the floor away as you straighten that right leg, and then feel like you're pulling your heel back as you bend it. Push into the pinky toe edge of your right foot. Pull from your heel. Maybe push into the big toe side of that right foot. Pull from your heel. Play with the angle that your hips come back as you bend and straighten. We're just kind of getting friendly with this hamstring and moving all of that tissue in your ankle. So you can flex and point your foot. Just one more breath or so here. And then bend your knee. You'll tuck your back toes, lift your back knee, ground your left heel, and then straighten through your right leg and come into a triangle from here. So maybe your hand comes up onto your shin. Maybe fingertips stay on the floor. But really think about integrity in your spine. You want this to feel good in your sacrum and your lower back. So if it feels really tweaky to have your hand on the floor, just come on up. Now push into that right big toe and big toe ball mount, and then engage through your right glute. So think of this spiral up that right leg, and that keeps spiraling up toward your heart. Push into your left heel. And then we'll move into half moon from here. So bring your left hand to your hip, bend into your right knee. If you've got a block and you want your hand on your block, you can bring your hand to your block outside your pinky toe. Slide your left foot in, lift it up, and then the inner edge of that left foot is parallel with the floor. Open yourself out to the side and find that spiral of your triangle pose in this pose. So push into that right big toe and engage through your right outer glute. Maybe reach high. And then we'll step back to warrior two. So bend into that right knee, float your left toes back, and find your warrior two. Inhale and reverse your warrior here. And then exhale, we'll cartwheel our left hand to the floor. Lift your left heel, and then rock onto the pinky toe edge of that left foot. Externally rotate through this left upper arm. Turn your right toes to the right. You can be here, or you can step your right foot in front of your left or on top to find your side plank. Take one more breath And then right hand down. Downward facing dog. If you really want to cycle through your push-up, heart opener, and then to downward facing dog, you totally can feel free to do that. Let's just breathe here. One more breath. And then inhale onto your tippy toes, look forward. Exhale, bend your knees, make your way to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Inhale, all the way to standing reach high. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale and reach high. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale and fold. Inhale your right foot back. Exhale your right knee down. And then bend and straighten this left leg. Push into your foot and kind of experiment with how you do that. And really push the floor away as you straighten. Feel like you're pulling your heel. Back to bend your knee. Push into the pinky edge of your foot. Push into the big toe ball mound of your foot. And move your hips from side to side. You can flex and point. Just getting into this hamstring a little, so we'll be ready for our triangle pose. And while you're down here, if you've got your block and you want it for your half moon, you can move it over to the left side. Bend into your knee, lift your back knee, and ground your right heel. There's that back heel. And then bring your left leg towards straight. Your fingertips can stay on the floor. You could even come onto your block here, or just have your hand on your shin. You don't want this to feel crazy in your pelvis, right? You want to really feel like you've got space and you're not tweaking or twisting in an uncomfortable way your low back. So, right, really think about the integrity of how things are lined up more than how close your hand is to the floor. Here. Push into that left big toe ball mound and then engage through your left glute. And let that spiral action kind of keep going up your spine. Push into your right heel. And take one more breath. And then right hand to right hip. Bend through your left knee. Maybe your fingertips come to your block or to the floor, or they just hover. Slide that right leg in and lift into your half moon. Now find that spiral engagement up your left leg. So you can engage through your heel, find that weight in your heel, but also push into your right big toe and then engage your right glute. Maybe reach, I guess I'm talking about your left, your grounded one. So engage that spiral through your left big toe and your left glute. And then we'll float back to warrior two. Bend into that right knee, step your right foot back. And just land. Reverse your warrior. Reach up through that left arm. And then cartwheel right hand to the floor. Come onto the pinky edge of that right foot. Turn your left toes to the left. Find that external rotation of your upper right arm. And you can keep your left foot here. And step it in front of your right. You can stack it. One more breath. And then hands down. You could cycle through chaturanga, upward dog, downward dog, or just go straight back into your downward dog. And just take this time to recalibrate, just feel symmetrical from one side of your body to the other. And then bring your knees down. Cross your ankles behind you and just sit back. Swing your legs forward in front of you, and then just kind of scoot to the middle of your mat. And then find your balance. You can hold on to the backs of your thighs or just float your arms and find a boat. And what does it mean here to have a strong back, soft front, wild heart? So feel that length and integrity through your spine and soften those front low ribs down and in. But then feel bright and open through your heart. And then bring your feet down and just plant your hands behind you. Draw your shoulder blades toward each other and just lift your hips into a reverse table. You can pause here. And then we'll go back and forth a few times. So find your boat pose. Maybe lengthen legs, but keep that integrity through your spine. And then feet down, hands down. Draw your shoulder blades together. Lift your hips. And just go slow enough that you can have control. But you can go back and forth kind of at your own pace. You can play with the position of your hands every time you come to that reverse table. Change the angle of your fingers. Next time we come to reverse table, we're just going to pause. And you'll ground down into that left hand. Lift your right arm up and just find a twist. Just kind of reach past your left ribs. And then swim it back. And then the other side. Just kind of find a twist there. So really decide what angle of your hand for your wrist. Your hips don't have to be super high. Just go one more time on each side. And then lower down. Just find your feet together and roll out your wrists a little bit. And then we'll play with a pose called Wild Thing. So bend through your left knee. Yeah, we'll start this way. Just trying to think, maybe I'll do the other. Bend through your right. It'll be easier to see. So this is kind of a side plank variation, but it's also a back bend and a shoulder opener. So right foot's going to stay planted on the ground, kind of alongside of your left knee. So not all the way close to your bum, but just in line with that left knee. And then ground down through your left arm behind you. Okay. So you've got some space between your bum and your hand. Find that external rotation of your left upper arm and that engagement through your fingertips. So kind of like you're clawing the floor, turn your fingernails white, engage through that pinky edge. Okay. And then we'll push into this right foot to lift your hips up off the floor and come onto the pinky toe edge of your left foot. And then you'll spiral through the shoulder. I have really stable shoulders. Some people can move all the way into a back bend here. And really reach your heart up. Draw your shoulder blades toward each other. And then just bring yourself down and we'll switch sides. Right leg long and then left foot just planted alongside your right knee. Ground down through your right hand. And you can play, like you can come in and out of this. You don't have to hold it. And play with the position of that right hand. Got my fingers pointing away. And then spiral some external rotation in that right upper arm. Push into your left foot. Lift onto the pinky toe edge of that right foot. And reach your left arm long. Keep spiraling through that right arm. So kind of twisting toward the pinky edge of your hand. Pushing all your fingers into the floor. Feeling stable through that right shoulder. And then come down. And cross your ankles. Rock forward. And make your way to downward facing dog. And now we'll play with coming into that pose from downward facing dog. So lift your right leg up and back. Bend your right knee and then open your hip. Engage through that left glute, kind of draw it to the right, your left outer glute. As you open that right hip, feel strong through that left hand. So feel that pinky edge of your hand really connected with the floor. Squeeze your fingertips down. Get light on your right fingertips. And then maybe bring your right toes to the floor. Pivot on that left foot so you come on the pinky edge of your left foot. And really push into that right ball of your foot. So you spiral on that left shoulder reach. And then we'll just swim our way back. Right hand back down. Come into your downward facing dog. And we'll do the other side. Lift your left leg up. Bend your knee and then open your hip. So you're dropping that left foot over to the right. Engage that right outer glute. And then maybe you can soften through your right knee. You'll step your left foot over to the floor. Lift your left arm. Engage through that right foot. Open your heart. Lift your hips high. And then cartwheel your way back. Left hand down. Downward facing dog. Now you have an option to do that one more time on each side, or just come down into a child's pose. Just come at your own pace, lifting that right leg, dropping your toe behind you, opening your heart. Everyone, make your way to child's pose. Hips to heels, and let your knees go as wide as feels good in your hips. Find a place to rest your forehead, so that may be on your block or stacked hands or the floor. You can kind of rock a little from side to side. And then lift your heart up a little bit and just walk your hands over to the left. And then fold over that left thigh. Reach long through your right fingertips. And then drop your right sitting bone toward your right heel. And then we'll switch. Just come all the way over to the right. Just walk yourself over to the right. Lengthen through your left side. Reach your left sitting bone toward your left heel. And then come back through center. And come into a table. And just thread your right arm underneath your left armpit. Bring your right shoulder, right side of your head to the floor. And just find this twisted child. You can lengthen your left arm long and then maybe creep your fingertips over to the right. It's been my favorite way to do this lately. And then really reach through that right arm, palm face up, and then find the opposition of your heart reaching back behind you toward the wall behind you. And then take your left hand, plant it in front of your face. Use your arm strength to come back up to your table, and then switch sides. So slide your left arm under, left side of your head, left shoulder to the floor. And then you can creep your right arm long and then over to the left. And think of being really long from your right pinky fingernail to your right hip. And just enjoy the twist. Reach through your left fingertips and then kind of find some leverage as reaching your heart back. And breathe into your lower back ribs. Plant your hand in front of your face. Come back up into your table. And then cross your ankles behind you. Just sit back and scoot your way into the middle of your mat. Make our way onto our backs for a round or two of bridge pose. Just keep your gaze straight up at the ceiling. And we'll start with robot arms. So really push your triceps into the floor, and you can even lift your shoulder blades up off the floor a little bit, draw them together, drop them back down, and then push into your feet, push into your heels, lift your hips up off the floor. And just pause. You don't have to come up to your mat some extent on your first breath. Just really kind of feel what's happening. And feel like you're pointing your tailbone toward the same direction as your knees. Let there be space underneath your neck and your gaze straight up toward the ceiling. And then find that strong back, soft, receptive front, wild heart here. You can release your robot arms to the floor. You could interlace fingers underneath you and wrap your triceps down a little more. But let yourself be fluid with your breath. So you don't have to clench into this pose, even though we're holding it. You can sway from side to side a little bit, shift your weight from one heel to the other, but let your gaze stay up at the ceiling. And if your hands are clasped, just release your hands and then let yourself sway from side to side as you lower down. And then release. Take your feet wide, let your knees knock together just for a breath. And then we'll do one more back bend. We've done a lot with our shoulders, and we've done a lot of back bending, so maybe a full wheel sounds like an experiment you want to try, or it's part of your practice. On this last back bend, play with having your feet a little wider than normal. They don't have to be perfectly hip distance apart. They could be a little bit wider. And if you want to try wheel at any bus stop, you don't have to go all the way up. Just play with your hands. Plant your hands so your fingers are pointing toward your feet. And draw your shoulder blades together and soften your front low ribs in. And then lift your hips. And this may just be where you stay, but you just feel this engagement through your shoulders and practice pushing into your hands and drawing your shoulder blades together and feel those upper arm bones really integrate into your shoulder socket. If you want to push up into wheel, you can push into your hands and maybe come onto the crown of your head and then engage your shoulders in and then straighten through your arms. Reach your heart toward the wall that you can see. or just come into into bridge. When you're ready, tuck your chin, bend your elbows, and let yourself come down. Wherever you are, feet as wide as your mat, and then just windshield wiper your knees from side to side. And then come to center, hug both knees into your chest. And then just cross your right leg all the way over your left and hug your crossed knees into your chest. You could reach out toward ankles or outer feet. If you do that, kind of flex through your feet. Just let your hips stretch. Release your hands, your grip, let your arms go out to a T, and then just drop your crossed legs over to the left. Look to your right. And you can move that right arm anywhere that feels like you just get a nice opening line of tension there. And then rock yourself on that left foot so you come back upright. Uncross your legs. Hug your knees into your chest. And cross your left leg all the way over your right. Hug those crossed knees into your chest. You can reach out for ankles. Reach out for outer feet. But make sure you're kind of keeping your ankles and your knees all in a line. Just breathe here. And then release your grip. So open your arms to a T. Drop knees over to the right, and look to your left. And I like to bring my right hand to that left knee, just to give it like gentle weight, not a push, but just kind of some passive weight. And then you can find the line of tension in that left arm that just feels good. And think of lengthening the space from your left armpit to your left outer hip. And then come back through center. Foot, uncross your legs. Bring your knees wide and just hug them into your chest. You can rock side to side. Maybe steer your knees in circles, just kind of opposite from each other. A happy baby pose, good. And then make your way to your final rest. If you'd like to have props, you could bring a blanket under your knees, a rolled blanket or pillows. You can find something underneath your head. Get yourself comfortable. And then feel the connection of your heels with the floor and just kind of push into your heels. So you're kind of pointing and then flexing your feet, but you're just using that pushing into your heels to really kind of slide yourself over your skin. You can feel your muscles and your skin and your bones kind of sliding against each other here. You just push into your heels with little rocks. And you can let it be pretty fast, just kind of shake and wiggle your body here. And then go ahead and stop. And just be still. You can let your feet fall out to the sides. And just feel the alive energy in your body. Just notice how everything is awake. And there's intelligence in every cell of your body. But we often can't feel it or notice it until we move it. It's really that movement that turns on the intelligence of our bodies and wakes everything up. And we want everything to be awake so it can function the best that it can. Our body is our tool for action. And as you settle here, just think about what it would mean to go about your day with a strong back, a soft front, and a wild heart. Take another breath or two to really let yourself sink into the floor. And as you're ready, wiggle fingers and toes. And stretch your arms over your head and see how long you can be from your fingernails to your toenails. And then soften everything. Find a bend in your knees. Just roll to one side. You can push your way up. And find your comfortable seat. Thank you, friends, for practicing with me this morning. Namaste. Have a wonderful day. Oh.